The definition of rape is unlawful sexual intercourse or other sexual penetration with or without force, without the consent of the victim. In her book, Rape as a Weapon of War, Claudia Card states, "There is more than one way to commit genocide. One way is mass murder, killing individual members of a national, political, or cultural group. Another is to destroy a group's identity by decimating cultural and social bonds. Martial rape, which is rape committed during war, does both. If there's one set of fundamental functions of rape, civilian or martial, it is to display, communicate, and produce or maintain dominance. Acts of forceful rape, like other instances of torture, communicate dominance by removing our control." While researching rape during war and the history of it, I found a lot of things that were shocking to me. Treating women as rewards of war was even happening during biblical times, which you wouldn't normally think. I found in Deuteronomy that a passage that says, "When you go to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands, and you take captives. If you notice among the captives a beautiful woman and are attracted to her, you may take her as your wife. Bring her into your home. If you are not pleased with her, let her go wherever she wishes. You must not sell her or treat her as a slave, since you have dishonored her." That's shocking. Also, during the Trojan War, there's proof that there were arguments between, who would possess what women that were captured. This is shown in Homer's Iliad, which actually starts with an argument between two Greek warriors and the possession of the captured women in which they had. This is shown all throughout history. It's even going on today. Damar is a really good example in our last lesson that we just had, showing that women are still being raped during war, and people are still using it as a war tactic, which ultimately needs to stop, especially since women are worth more than that, and you can't live without us.
So here I found some images of not people being raped, but rather images that speak for themselves. The hand that says "stop rape," a girl with, someone else's hand over her mouth, because when someone is raped, it takes away their voice and their self-worth and who they are as a person. And then also the picture of the girl with "rape is rape, there's no excuses, you can't come up with an excuse as to why you raped somebody," and especially using that during war, it's not a good enough excuse for why you should rape somebody or why that makes it okay, because it's not okay. Like I said, rape takes away their voice, their self-worth, and that does make rape a perfectly terrible war tactic. And the images that I searched made me super sick to my stomach, and that's one of the reasons why I decided not to share those. Next, we're going to talk about treaties. What treaties are going to enforce or maintain and prevent rape in war. I found 3 that were pretty important. The first one is the Lieber Code in 1863, Article 44, and that was passed during the Civil War, and it protects persons, especially women. This is just a little excerpt from it. "All rape, etc., is punishable by death or such severe punishment which seems adequate." The Geneva Convention in 1949, Article 3, it ends and prohibits at any time, in any place whatsoever, the violence of life in person, outrages upon personal dignity, humiliating and degrading treatment, etc. Though it doesn't technically talk about rape, it's implied. and the Convention of Belém do Pará in 1994. 34 countries attended this. Only 8 not signing. The United States did not sign this treaty, and this is the prevention and punishment and eradication of violence against women. Now we're going to be talking about offenders. In my research, I found that it was really hard for me to pinpoint one country that has gone above and beyond committing rape and using that as a war tactic. I found that at some point, every country has committed rape and used it as a war tactic. Some that stood out to me were during World War II, the Vietnam War, but also currently happening in Dammar. In our last lesson that we just learned about, women today are still being raped, and rape is still being used as a war tactic. So it's usually the invaders of some country that are using that, obviously, and it's against women of that country that they're invading.
Here you can see a couple graphs or some information regarding rape and war by the numbers. Now, most of these numbers are within an estimated range, and the Women Under Siege project decided to do a graph reflecting the research dates. So, for example, for World War II in 1944 to 1945, there were 2 million women raped. That's an estimated number in that time frame. And then there's an explanation as to why the numbers are so low. In Libya in 2011, UN Special Representative of the Secretary General argued that the number of women publicly reported rape by troops in Libya is deceptively low, and this could be for many reasons.
The enforcement of these treaties can be fairly difficult. That's why educating soldiers and educating people about the issues that surround rape, such as contracting sexually transmitted diseases, death even, and pregnancies, etc., and also the traumatic effects on women. The treaties and laws are put into place in order to protect women from this act, and it's also put in place to protect soldiers from possibly being punished for committing this crime.
In recap and conclusion, we've learned that rape is still being used as a war tactic and has been used as a war tactic since the beginning of time. It's in the Bible, it's in other historical documents, and it also states that women are property and prizes of war. So rape is also being used today, like we talked about in Dammar, and also there have been treaties put in place and enforced protecting the rights of women during war, and also protecting their bodies and stating that nobody else can infringe upon those rights, and if so, then it could be punishable by death or punishable by jail time or etc. So overall, the use of rape as a war tactic needs to come to an end. And that concludes my research into rape being used as a war tactic. Thank you.